Welcome back, or if this is your first time, welcome to Danger Aware's animation department. Now, we're not much of an animation department, it's mostly just me, but over the last 4 years I've been learning how to use Moho Pro to create and animate characters for our programs, which is DangerAware.org, where we are trying to change the paradigm of abuse awareness by educating the young and vulnerable by using play and entertainment. So instead of lecturing kids about stranger danger, we're teaching them about the patterns that are used in abuse. And that way they can learn to spot the early signs and call it out. So to that end, we're creating cartoons, of course, comics, ebooks, we're having contests, and all kinds of things. So right now we're working on this particular character, which is any large red ant. And it's going to be any because we're going to be able to create literally undecillions of characters, and that's a real word. Undecillion is the 11th power of magnitude above 1 million. So if you think of 1 million as the first magnitude, and a billion is the second magnitude, and a trillion is the third magnitude, the 11th magnitude is undecillion. And by the time we're done with this character here, we will be able to create 465 undecillion different individuals from this single puppet. So now today what we're going to do is the digital DNA. We're finally going to get to what the title of the video is about, and that is making physical changes to the puppet so that we can have many different characters based on this one character puppet. So I don't have to spend 18 hours creating a new character every time we need a new character. Instead, I'm going to spend about 3 or 4 more hours and take this character, which is fully rigged and functional, and make changes to it. Now, you may wonder, why are all these extra bones there? Well, they're for this. If I didn't have these bones for the eyes and the skull, when I did a head turn, it would do funky things. I've gone through it. This was the solution. The same with the shoulders and the hips. They're there so that when I implement the digital DNA, everything continues to work as the puppet does now. And what that allows me to do is create a scene, and then I can change the character to another character doing the exact same thing, and then another character doing the exact same thing. And literally only takes seconds to change the characters once they're creatable. So let's get into it. Now, when I created this character, I created it from a base character, and so all the digital DNA bones were already named, and they're already assigned to the character ID. So as we change the character's look, we can track who that character is. And as you can see, because of the way the bones are laid out with minus 70 to 70 constraints, the Moho standard, that gives us 141 changes from the minus 70 through 0 to 70. That's 141. And when we apply A, B, C, D, E, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 to that as a pattern, the very center at 71 is HO. And therefore the standard character, because all of these bones are at rest. This is what the character will look like when all of these bones are where they're at right now. And that is our Christmas character, because it's ho 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 ho. It's actually H0H0, but it's our Christmas character. And when we move all these levers all the way to the left, we get our AO character, because all of these would be AOs. And when we move them all the way to the right, it's our poo-poo characters, because it's poo-poo. It's popo actually, but you get the idea. And of course the PO and the AO are the extremes of each of these features. So these are our digital DNA chromosomes. You think of each one of these as a different chromosome for our character. There's 18 chromosomes, I think. Let's see. 3, 6, 9. Yeah, 18 chromosomes to represent what we can make as changes to our character. So we're going to start doing that now. We're going to start in the construction layer. We're going to go to the first digital DNA, which is the skull size. And so what we're going to do is change the size of the skull. And with this one, we're going to do it with the bones, because if we did it with anything else, it comes out weird. So we're at the 1 position on our timeline, all the way to the left. That's going to be our smallest skull. So we're going to select these 2 skull bones at the top here, and we're going to change their scale, and let's drop it just to 50% and see what it looks like. Oh, I went to 550. That's too much. Let's go 50. So that's 50. Now you can see I'm getting a little bit of the distortion here with the top of the head, because the bones are pulling in certain points, but not the ones on the top of the skull. So we don't want to quite go to 50%. Let's go 60%, see how that looks. So there, we still got a little overlap. Let's go 75. There we go. So there's that's going to be our smallest skull size for this character. Now we're going to jump to our maximum position, which, as I said, is 141, where all of these we were doing 65. Now we're doing 141. So we're going to come over here to 141, and now we want that to be the maximum size. So since we're going to the minimum is 75, let's do 125 for the maximum and see what that looks like. I think that's quite good. I don't think we need to go bigger than that. I think that'll work. And as we scroll back down to 71, it should go back to 100%. But as I mentioned before, that's not good enough. We really need to do a reset so that the scale is released, not so it's set. Now, when the skull gets wider, I think the eyes should move outward. So we're going to go down and we're going to make these wider. So we're going to hit B for bone and select both of these. Now I don't think we want to go the same scale, but let's give it a try and see. So we'll go 125. Actually, that's not bad. And let's drop down to 1. And let's go 75 here. And that will keep the eyes inside the skull. And because I put the eyes on these bones that we're changing, as the head turns, the eyes will not flip over each other incorrectly. So there we go. There's our skull size. I don't think we need to do anything other than reset these bones at this point here. So even though it's back to 100, we still want to hit a reset just to release them. So if any other action or animation feature tries to use those bones, they're not locked up. Alright, so let's move on to the next one, is eye size. This one's pretty simple. Now we're going to change the eyes because they're complex objects. We're going to change them by their layer, not by each individual part. We could go in and do each individual part, but it's quicker and easier to do the layer, and it's more appropriate in this condition of moving the head and all. So we're going to just change the scale. We're going to do the same thing. Let's go 75% of the current X and 75% of the current Y, and that brings our eye down to a small eye. And then we do the other eye the same way, 75 and 75. Then we jump to 141, and we're going to go to 125 on each of these. And keep the scale proportions going together there with the other changes we've done. So 125 and 125. Now you can do this manually by hand by moving the bones, and I used to do that because I was still learning everything, and that's great to learn how to use all of that. You need to know. But in the end, using the numbers, especially for the digital DNA, gives you so much better control. And then of course at 71, we're going to go back and going to reset. Even though it's perfectly 100%, we still need to do the reset to release any changes, so that any other action, which like the eye blink and such, is not affected. So there we can have very big eyes, and we can have small eyes. Alright, so we're going to move on to the next digital DNA chromosome, and that one is antenna size. So the antennas here are on the front of the face, and what we're going to do is grab all 4 of these bones. So we're going to grab these 2, and holding shift, we're going to grab these 2. And so let's stick with the same numbers. Let's go 75% here. Now see, we're only changing a bone, so there's only one thing to change. So there's our 75% antenna. And then let's go to 141. And now, of course, we're going to go to 125. And there we go. We've got the bigger antenna. Now, this ant happens to have them on his face. Not all ants have them on their face. Some of them have them on top of their skull. And that's true in nature. That's where I get the ideas from. So, I look up ants, and I go, how can I make this look more like a person? And then this is what we get. So, there's our antenna size changing with the lever changing, and as you'll notice, the ID is changing for that as well. So when we're done, this is the entire identity of whatever character we create. So the next digital DNA is beard size. So we're going to go to that one. And that's only with the skull here, as the beard or the mandibles are part of the skull. Now in other characters, I've actually taken those beard parts out and made them separate, and it's easier to do that when doing this part, but with this character I just left it as the one piece. So what we're going to change here is how big the mandibles are. So at the minimal position, we're going to bring these points here. Let's grab both of them. And then we're just going to drag them straight up. And then we're going to grab these other 2 points. And drag those up. And we're just going to make it where the mandibles disappear. Now, we've also got these 2. Hit T and move them up. And we basically just want to make it where there's no mandibles at all. And I think that'll work. And then we're going to jump to 141. And we're going to drag all those down. So first we can go to 71 and just reset them all. So we're going to just hit the full skull and hit reset. So now they're back to normal. And then at 141, let's do by grabbing all three of these here and shift and these three, and now I'm having issues with my keyboard. So now we're going to just drag these down and drag the whole set down as well. So there we go for our maximum, and we've already reset at 71, so it's going to return to the reset. And there we go. So we've got our different beard size. The next digital DNA is going to be mouth size. This is like the eyes, going to be, because it is a complex object, we're going to do it by the layer. So we're going to go find the mouth layer. And then we're going to go to the layer control here. And for the smallest, let's go ahead and stick to our numbers. Now it's showing 99. Oh, well, we're just going to go ahead and change it to 75 and 75. And I think we can go smaller. Let's go 50-50 and see how that looks. Now, if you'll notice, as we change the layer, the size of the strokes change with that change. So be aware that when you're changing things by layer, you're also going to be changing the strokes of anything that's in that layer. So at 71, we can reset it. So it's showing it's down to 49, but it's just reset. So there we're at 100. And then at 141, let's go to 150. And voila. So you can see how much thicker the stroke is. There, now our lips are back to normal. So as they get smaller, they're going to get thinner. And as they get bigger, they're going to get thicker. So just be aware that when you're changing by layer, you're not just changing the size of the box. You're changing the size of the contents of the box. So there we go with mouth size. And back at 71, we need to reset. Almost forgot to do that. So we're just going to grab the layer again and then reset. Just like that. There we go. So next, digital DNA. Got to return to the bone layer, because if you're in an object, you don't see the same list always. So next is cheek size. So I saw a change there. Let's see what's happening here. Yeah, I think when I did the beard, I didn't reset it properly. So let's go back to the beard, go to 71, and grab the skull. And let's just grab all of it. And reset. I didn't see anything change there. Head left and right. Did I skip something here? So it's at 33 and reset. Well, up and down. And at 33. To reset. Alright, so let's go. Okay, jaw up and down. Maybe that's the one. So 33. There we go. And we reset. I'm not seeing any changes. So let's go back to the main line. And then I see the change. So what's going on? Let's take a look. This is how you troubleshoot a Moho puppet. If you're getting a change, that means we've left something in an action unreleased. So it didn't release it when I should. So let's check here. We're going to go back and forth between these two tools, and that shows us what is changing. So you can see it's bulging on the mandible. So it's got to be happening on the skull. So we're going to select the skull. And now, oh, I know what it is. When I did the resets, I did not reset the curve. And so, let's go back to the beard size. So I believe I did some curve work here. So when we get back to 72 or 71, which is the center, we need to reset the curves as well. And there it is. So that's how you troubleshoot when you obviously missed something and you need to find out where it is. Now the tongue is changing because of the nature of how I'm dealing with the tongue in and out of the mouth. So you can ignore the fact that the tongue changes when we go back and forth between these two tools. Because as soon as we go into the animation, it reverts to the internal tongue only. So what it is, we're seeing the external tongue. So we can go back and forth here. And when we're in the construction layer, and you go between the two extreme bone tools here, if you see a change, it's because you did not reset something in one of your actions. And so it's good to, when you are working on actions like this, especially a lot of them, you go back and forth and check and make sure everything is staying the same. Now see, we're still getting a change in the face there, and I don't know why. So let's go back to the skull. And let's check each of these for curvature changes. So we're going to go to the middle here and go to curve and just reset. It doesn't hurt there. That was the change right there. So I'm just going to go to each of these. And go to the center. And make sure that I've reset the curve as well. So there it changed again. Head left and right. At the center, we want to reset the curve. And beard size we already did, but I'm going to double check. And at 33. Oh, no, beard size is 72. 71. So here we're going to reset. Alright, I believe that may have fixed the problem. So let's go back to the main line and to the bone layer. And we're going to jump between this tool and this tool in the construction frame. So go here. And no changes in here. No change. So now we know every one of our actions has been released as the character is not changing at all. So the next one is the heft. Now this is the one that takes the most work because it has to affect each of the limbs of the 6 limbs. So 12 different objects, basically. So we're going to go through and choose each object here. So we're going to start with the forearm. And we're going to grab the center 2 points of the arm. And This can be done by hand or by number, but let's do it by number. Whoops. Because you get that sometimes when you're trying to do things. So let's undo. And so, I really don't know if we can change the scale and make it work, but let's try it. Let's go 150. Wrong one, this one. There we go. Let's see, it reverts to 100. Let's see, let's go to 71, and then reset. Yeah, there we go. So, here actually it should be thinner. So we're going to go to 75 here. There we go. Actually, let's reset first, then do 75. There we go. Then at the 71, we're going to reset. And then at 141, let's go 150 on this one. There we go. So now we've got numbers to do the other arm the same way. So now we're going to go to this one, biceps, and grab those 2 points in the center. Change their Y scale to 150. And then change their minimal Y scale. First resetting it so that it's not too large, and then 250. So there we go. And then at 71, we want to reset. Next arm. Forearm. Grab the 2 center points. And for our minimal position, we're going to be at 50% on the Y. And at 141, we're going to be at 150. We'll reset first, otherwise it'll be 150 at the skinny. And we'll do 150 of normal, and then go back to 71 and reset. There we go. And biceps. Grab T. Here's our scale. We are actually going to reset. And then 50%. And at 141, we're going to go 150. There we go. Our arms are getting hefty. Back to normal. And emaciated. And it looks like I forgot the forearm. Over here. And at this point, we need it to be at 50%. That's not right. I didn't reset. There we go. So reset, then 50%. There we go. And then at 71, it should be full reset. And we're good to go. So now we got to do the legs the same way. Problem is, because the legs are angled and not straight, increases are not going to be the same effect. But we'll see. So we go down to the lower body. Let's get rid of the, well, not get rid of, but reduce the upper body. Yeah, that's not in the way. And we'll grab this shin. Now this one's kind of straight up and down, so it should work. So, at 1, we want it to be the X plane now, 50%. At 71, we're going to reset. And then at 141, we're going to go 150%. There we go. This thigh. Okay, we're going to grab these 2 points, hit T, and at 141 we're going to be at 150. That works. At 71 we're going to reset, and at 1 it's going to be 50%. There we go. We're going to do the same thing for each of these leg parts. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. G to grab, T to select, scale 50% for 1, 71, we reset, and at 141 we want 150. The thigh the same way. G to grab, T to select, and we're at 141, so we're going to go with 150. Go to 71, reset, go to 1, and 50%. Now the back legs, same thing. Shin, G to grab, T to select, and we're at 1, so we want the scale to be 50. At 71, we're going to reset, and at 141, we're going to go to 150. Next shin, grab, T to select, and we are at 141, so we want 150. Go to 71, we reset, we go to 1, and go 50%. And the final thigh, grab, T, scale for 1 will be 50%. At 71, we're going to reset, and at 141, we're going to be at 150. And now we have, oh, I didn't do the other shin, did I? Or thigh. How did I miss that thigh? Alright, so we're going to grab these 2 points, hit T, and we're at 141, so we want 150. And we drop down to 71. And we reset. And then to position 1, 50%. Alright, so now we've got our character's heft, which is just the limbs, going from emaciated to normal to FD. So there we go. Next digital DNA. be on the bone layer. So we now have thorax size. So the thorax is two pieces. There's the upper body part and the lower body part. So let's go to the upper body part first. So here's the upper thorax, which is basically the stomach towards the chest and shoulders. And at this point, we're going to make the character emaciated or skinnier. Now, this is where these bones come in, because as we make the skinnier character, these bones need to come in to keep the arms rotating properly. So, we're going to grab, let's grab everything through there except the neck point. The neck point wouldn't affect it because there's only one. So then we hit T to select, and holding Alt so that everything stays to scale, we're going to just shrink it in. Let's go about there. But that means we need to bring those arms in. So we're going to go back to the bone layer, and we'll go B for bone, and grab each of these bones, and hit T. And now as we shrink one, the other will shrink as well. And I think we want to go about there. So let's go back to the upper thorax. And then go to reset at 71. So we'll go 71 and reset the part. And then we will reset the bones. Right there. So we can see when we're selecting the thorax here, the upper thorax, you can see where the lines go on the arm bones here. So we want to keep this just to the left of these points, basically, as it shrinks. So let's see if we or I was able to do that. So there we go. And looks like we went a little too far with the bones. So let's go back. And we'll just stretch them out just a bit. And there we go. So now we're going to go to 141. And here we want to make the torso wider. So we're going to grab torso in, thorax, and T, and holding Alt, we're just going to make it wider, and that should do it. So again, we need to bring the bone to where it's just like right about here. So we go to the bone layer. Now, I use a trick that you might want to try. If you go to your office supply and you look for contract stickers, they're where attorneys will write a very long contract. They need somebody to sign in multiple places, so they put a little post-it tab. It's not for writing on. It's not quite transparent, but transparent enough. And you place one on your screen, and it works as a return to this point marker. So, what I want to do is go to my thorax again, and I'm going to bring, I've got one of those things on my screen, so I want the bone to end up right there at the tip of my piece of tape on my screen, but it's a post-it note tape, so there's no residue left when I want to peel it off. So, but that's where I want the bones to be. So now I can go to the bone layer and hit the T for bones, or manipulate or transform bones, And then I'm going to drag this to that point on my screen, which I just passed it. So right there. So that's where the bones should be for the widest point. Now I should do the same for the narrow point. So I need to see the torso or thorax, and we need the bone to be just inside those points, so down to there. So go back to the bone layer, and we're just going to reduce this. So right there. So that should be the proper place for the arms to rotate no matter how wide the torso gets. So let's go back to the main line, and that's why we're using shoulder bones, is to get the arms to function properly, because moving them by themselves without a base bone, it doesn't work the same. Just take my word for it, I've done it. So now we go back to the main line, go back to the construction frame. And I haven't been testing this because I've made enough of these characters that I know how it works, that this should work. So let's go to our heft, which I believe is this one. That one's heft. We wanted torso size. So we're going to go wide, and then we're going to rotate the shoulders around the body, and we can see that it is working. It's doing just a little bit of a quick flip, but it's working pretty much. So now we're going to go to the most narrow shoulders, and this should still work. So around the body at the right point, just like that. So there's how we can use the digital DNA to change the torso size, but also keep our bones working the way we would design our puppet. So we add an extra few bones to the puppet in order to be able to add the digital DNA. So the next digital DNA we're going to work on is, I didn't do the bottom of the abdomen, or the thorax. So we still got to do thorax side DNA right there. So now we do the same thing to the lower thorax. So it's just a few steps below right here. And we've already got the top one, so we're just going to match it. So we're going to hit T, and we're just going to... We can shrink the size of the torso to match what we did with the upper. And then we're going to go to 141 and do the same thing here. Holding Alt, we can stretch both sides equally, and we're going to go right to there. And there we've got our thorax size changing. Now we've got to do the legs, or they won't rotate around the heavier, thicker body or the narrower body properly. They would be completely disconnected. So we have to go to the bone layer. And we're going to do each of these one at a time, or one set at a time. So we're going to grab the top ones with B for bone, and then holding Shift to select the second one, then T for transform. And since I drew the character, I know it needs to be about right there. So then we're going to grab the bottom bones, holding Shift to grab the second one, then T, and bring these out. And just about to there, I think. And at 71, of course, we need to reset them all. So you can see the scale here shows quite a bit off. So B for bone, and grab these two and reset them. And then to our narrow hips. Now you notice the hips don't go in as much as they go out. So here's the reset point, and we want to be, well, I'm using my thumb, and it's about a thumb's length away from the edge. So now I'm going to go to the 1 point, and then holding my thumb next to where the skin is, I'm going to reduce until my point of that bone is just touching the other side of my thumb, like that. And then the same thing with the lower ones. So when they're at 71, it's about a pinky finger thickness. So when I get to 1, I want those bones to be about a pinky thickness away from where the skin is on the hips. So maybe about right there. And then we want it reset at 71, which we've already done. And so let's give it a try. We're going to exit to the main line here. We want to be on the bone layer here. We want to be in the construction frame, and we're going to manipulate the bone for the size of the torso, which is this one? No, this one. There, okay. So you can see this, the torso gets wider, the legs and the arms stretch out. So at this point, do they rotate properly? We already did the arms, so we can see that they're doing right. So there's the legs, and you got to be careful. We want to go right to the edge and just step it one at a time. That's going around perfectly. So now we go to our minimum right there, and the same thing should happen because we're working with the hips. So there we go. Our legs are coming all the way to the edge and then flipping around. Perfect. So it doesn't matter what size we make the thorax, the arms and the legs are going to continue to work on the puppet. And so that's why we put in hip bones and shoulder bones and skull and eye bones. Even though the eyes don't need bones other than what's over here to manipulate the eyes. When we get into the digital DNA and start altering the skull, that's when it matters. Okay? So the next one is going to be the height. So this is going to be easy. So we're going to start here, and all we're going to do is the bones on the arms and legs, just like heft. We're only working with certain bones. So I'm going to hit B for bone, and I'm going to grab each of these limb bones that we worked with before on the parts. Now we're going to work on the bones. And there we go. And so for our short character, we're going to scale that down to 50%. And there's our short character. We're going to go to 71 and reset the scale. And then we're going to go to 141. And now we've got 150 for the scale. And so we've got our tall, skinny character and our short dumpy character. And we can also, like I said, do the heft of the arms and legs, making them even chubbier at this small size. So there's our height. Next we want to do eyelashes. Yeah, I know it's weird to do eyelashes alone by themselves, but they're actually more complex than you think. So let's go down in, and we want to be on position 1, and we want to go into each of the eyes. And so this time we have to go into the part to affect the eyelashes. So there's 4 lashes, and what we're going to do is change how long they are. So we want G to grab, and we only want to grab, let's choose the lasso mode, and that way we're not grabbing a square, we can draw exactly what we want to collect. So we're going to go right down the middle of each of these lashes and grab their tips. So at 1, they're going to be as small as they can get. So we're going to drag them down, and it looks like that's mostly working, but let's grab this one and bring it on in, and drag this one on in, and that is fine. Then we're going to go to 71, and we're going to reset. And now I don't have the tips only, so we're going to grab the whole eyelash and reset it. And then I've got to grab the tips again for 141, because we're going to have very long lashes. There we go. And to there, and hit T, and now we're going to just drag them and make them long, just like that. So I don't know what the scale is, so we're just going to have to match that as close as we can on the other side. So now we're going to do the lower lash, the same thing. So we're going to grab, we separate the tips. We don't want to move the base of the eyelash, just the tips to be longer or shorter as the case may be, and hit T. And so then right now they need to be long. Then at 71 we're going to reset them, and then at 1 we're going to bring them to be non-existent, and that works. I don't think we really, let's see, right there. So now our eyelashes on that eye anyway get longer and shorter depending on our digital DNA for this particular character. So let's see, I think they're shifting too much on the bottom here. Let's move this like that, and then at 1, yeah, that's better. So now they're shrinking more evenly. So now we've got to do the other eye. Use G to grab, and we've got lasso mode going. So we'll grab just the tips of all these lashes. Hit T, and we are at 141. At this point, we want to match it to be as long as the other eyelashes. Just right about there, looks good. And then at 1, we bring it all the way down. It's best to try to keep it even. And then just like the other eye, the outer 2 lashes need to be adjusted. And back to 71. And we grab all of it. Oops. Always hit the letter G to grab. And we reset. And there we go. So now the bottom lashes. G to grab. And circle or lasso as we want. Hit T. And bring them, we're at reset. So here's reset. Go to position 1. That's where they disappear. There we go. And I think it was about 18. We needed to straighten it out, just like that. And at 141, they're going to be long, and looks like the middle ones are just touching the edge of the eyelid there. So that's what we'll do there. And that's our eyelashes. So now we can have a character with short or long eyelashes. The next digital DNA, let's see, that one's height. We were at wing size. This one will be simple. So we simply go down to the wings, and we don't want to change the bones because the bones are related to these bones to make the wings flap at a particular rate each. So we want to grab the actual wings themselves on this one. So at the minimal position, we don't want any wings at all. So we're going to go in and just turn each of these off visually at this point. So you can see the timeline's changing to be red, showing that there is no showing of this item anywhere in the timeline there. Alright, so now the character has no wings. There's just nothing showing at all at the minimal position. So then at 1, now we want to turn all those wings back on. So we go up and make it visible and apply. And so now our shutoff is only for one position of the entire timeline selection. And so there we go, but now we want the wings to be very small. So we're going to select each one, hit T, and in their individual object, if we change it, the stroke stays the same. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to just change the scale of the X, Y to 50-50. And there we go. And we're going to do that to each wing. So select it and 50-50. And you can see they're moving, and we're going to need to put them back where they belong. So I just realized that. So let's go ahead and do the 50-50. And now we need to put them back to where they're intersecting the bone of the wing at the shoulder here. So we're just going to pick each one up and bring its top point back to the center of the bone collection here, because that's also where the wings attach, in the back. And that way when we flap them, no matter what their size, they're going to look correct. There we go. And then we go to 141 and we're going to do the opposite because it's going to stretch them the other direction now. So let's go ahead and go to 71 and then do a reset on each wing. Because we got to reset it, we may as well just do it where we want to record that it's going to be reset. So that puts them all back to normal size. Then we're going to go to 141 and we're going to change them all to 150. Well, let's take a look. That may be too big. No, that should work. So 150, 150. And then we got to reposition it where the top point is in this juncture of bones. So there's our big wings, and so that looks reasonable, and shrink to normal. They're all four going to normal, and then they go to the small size, and finally they just disappear. There are no wings. So why is that one dropping? Oh, it's just the whole size going back to normal. Alright, so there we go. So after wing size, we move on to eyelashes. We did wing size, body type. So body type, this is where we can make extreme changes to the character. And I used to think of this as male, female, but it works out to just being different body types, changed to body types. So, the first thing we want to change with the body type, let's start with the antennas. So, with the little end of antenna, let's go in and we're going to change the size of the tip here. It's G to grab. And I don't want to go, let's take off lasso. Now I get my box back. So we're going to grab all these and hit T. And let's just shrink it all up to right near that one point. So we do the other one the same way. Just going to shrink that up to right there. And while we're at it, I'm thinking of making them droop. So we would go to the bone layer and we would go to the transform, and so at the little end, let's make them droop down a bit. So we do that. So same amount on the other side. So that'll be this extreme. There we go. And you notice the bones stay connected. It doesn't matter. As long as you keep your bones connected to your parts, everything works out. So then at the big end, we'll rotate these upward. Like that. Not too far, but enough that it's a different type of character, but still related. So there's an antenna. And let's see, that's a little too high there. Now here's a trick I use when I'm trying to match side to side. I can just bring it up so that the one is touching on one side, so that I know exactly where I need it to be touching on the other side. So we just bring that Like, well, there. Alright, and so what else can we change on the face from, to be body type differences? Let's go to the skull. Now when we change things on the skull, we got to be careful that we don't change this point or this point. So let's do this. Let's grab these points and T, and let's drag them down. Oh, I like that. There we go. And oh, that's the high end. We're at the high end. Let's do it up. Let's Control Z. Control Z. Holding Shift keeps you from shifting side to side. So there, we'll make big old brain bulges. And then one, we won't have such big brain. Go back right there. So, and most ants have triangular faces, and that's basically what's happening here. And speaking of triangular, let's add a little more chin point for this end, and then at 141 we'll go back up with it. Look at that. Alright, and did we do cheek size? I think I missed cheek size. Let's see here. Yeah, we didn't do anything for cheek size. So I'm at 1, so we're going to grab the cheeks here. And T. And we're going to bring those in. Oh. Got to hold Alt. There we go. So we'll bring them into right there. Then at the maximum, 141. Zoom in a little for better control. And whoops, Alt, and stretch outward. Out there. And it's course at 71. And reset. And now we can go back to body type. Now that I realized that I missed one of those controls. So now, since we've already changed cheeks in and out, for this we'll go up and down. So here we're going to go down a bit. And then we're going to go to 141 and move them upward. Let's just go to there. So we get many different structural faces. And since I'm here at lips, let's do some lip work. So I'm going to grab the middle points and hit width. And at 71, we want to make sure they're set. And it looks like it's 100% for those. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to change it. Let's go 99. And then back to 100. There's no reset on width. You've got to do it manually. So on the minimal size, we're going to make them thicker. So the width is going to go like that. And then at the 141, we'll go the other direction and make them super thin. And there we go. So, as you can see, this particular change, we're going to be making quite a bit of change. So let's do something with those eyebrows. So when we're here, let's do it with the bones. So we're going to go to the bone layer, and we're going to grab the bones up here. Oh, I didn't want to grab the head bone, but these two, shift, and these two. And hit T, that brings up our scale. And so here, let's go 75. Making smaller eyebrows. And here, we go 125. And of course, we reset at 71 for the middle. And there we go. So now, let's go to 1. What else can we change about a character to change body type? So that's pretty good changes on the head. And the, so now the shoulders, let's see. So the upper thorax, at this one, let's grab these shoulder points, and we're just going to drag them down a bit. Right there. And then 141, push them up, and reset at 71. So now we can change the body type to be more stronger and less strong. Alright, and let's do this. Let's grab the waist points here, and holding Alt, we can bring those in a bit. And then for 141, we drag them out a bit, and then we've got to fit the lower thorax to match. So we're going to just grab, and I think we'll grab, oops, I think we will grab these 4 points. Hit T and Alt, and drag these out. Alt quit working again. Now we'll just drag these out manually to match the upper body. Then we're going to go to 1 and drag them inward. I wonder why my Alt quit working. So that shouldn't have changed the leg bone position from where they're going to need to be. But we are changing the body. Well, it is changing the leg position a lot. That's not good. Let's take out the bottom pin, or point. That change there. Let's see how that works. There's still some slight changing to the area that affects the legs rounding. So I'm going to bring the body to my little marker on the screen to right there. So I need the body to stay right there no matter what I do to the rest of it. So here, I need to bring this point in. And my Alt's working. So this needs to be right there. And then at 141, it needs to be there. So So now we shouldn't have any changes on the lower part. There we go. And of course it's 71. We need to reset. So reset. And the upper thorax. Reset that. Alright, so now let's do that. See how it looks. Looks better going in than going out. When we're going out, it's just a little too much on the upper part there. So holding Alt. Oh, it's the curve is going, okay. So let's do this. Let's grab these middle points and expand them just a bit. Whoops. Somehow I grabbed the number and letters. Alright. So now let's move these up a bit. Yeah, there we go. Get it in that curve. And here Alright, whoops. The next thing we're going to change are the arms and legs. So, body type. Let's go to the forearm. And let's say for the small end, we'll bring this up just a bit. And in the biceps, the same thing. We're just going to bring that bottom pin up. Same thing for the other arm. We're going to overdo it. And then the bicep. And then at the other end, at 141, we're going to bring it way down. Too much. Forearm. Alright, and then at 1, we'll do the opposite. Take the top and bring it up. Biceps. Too much. There we go, and then biceps. And now at 71, we want to reset. Just grab each of them entirely and reset it. And of course, you've got to do something similar with the legs. So, so there's our body changes, but it's still the same species of ant. We just get different individual characters. 141 different looks just here, and then each of the bones we've done before these change it by 141 times. So we're now ready to get into coloring the character. Now this is a large red ant. Sometimes I build a spreadsheet to do this, and sometimes I just go with what I want to do. I think this time we're going to just go with what I want to do. So, we don't need the ID open. There we go. So, we need to go to the body face color first. So, if you've watched my videos, you know that we need this character to be for coloring pages as well as cartoons. So we're going to start off with black and white for all of the face colors. So we go to the skull, and we select it with the object tool and select it. So now we've got it selected. We're going to go to styles, and we're just going to grab black and white and select them and make sure that they register at this position on the timeline. So now we've got our black and white. Now we're going to move up to position 1, and this is where we're going to want our lightest colored red ant. So let's go to our face minimal color, and that's going to be a very light red. So just basic pink. And then I like to make my stroke just the same color to begin with, and then I go down about 10% darker. Oh, that's the face. That's not what I want. I want this to be just a little darker than the pink that we're using, so that it looks like a face that's just getting, you know, a little distance from us. Right about there. So there's our face color. Now we need to do the eyelids. Well, let's work on through the timeline. So there is no reset on colors. So at this point, we're going to be darker red. Let's go about right there. And then same with the stroke, we're going to select the color for the face and go into the stroke and just make it about 10% darker. And then finally we go to 141, and this will be our darkest red. So we would want to go maybe there. And we can't go to the right, so we just go straight down. And we don't want it looking black, but that should be good there. Let's go back to the face. Make it more red. There we go. So there's our darkest face. Now we need to do the eyelids, or eyelash, yeah, the eyelids. So here's our upper lid. So we're going to select it. There we go. And let's go with the base face color to begin with, but then we're going to make it a little bit darker. And then we're going to capture that color and then use it everywhere else. So, okay, then the lower lid. It didn't copy it. All right. Make sure, oh, I may not have selected it. Still not pasting. Oh well, we can pick it up with this. So, I don't know what's going on. I decided that while I don't need the spreadsheet to tell me what colors to use, I brought up one that we have for the black and red ants. It helps me remind me which bone, which parts get changed with each bone. So I need to do the mouth, the sclera, the gums, and the tongue at this point. So that's it. I'm going to have to take a break. I don't know if you're aware. I'm in a lot of pain, and so I can't sit and do this stuff for very long without having to stop. So I will complete this character off camera, because I'm pretty sure you understand the process now of simply changing the color of each different part, both at position 1, then at 2, and then finally at 141. And Moho will fill in the differences between, so that they give us the many different colors that we need to have random red and black, or red ants in this case. So the torso will be alternate darker red to lighter red, and then of course from the light color all the way to dark. And here is the final character with all of the features set up. So we can now look at our Ho-Ho character. So all of our digital DNA are at rest, and these are the colors of the at-rest version of this species. And so now to create a new character, all we have to do is start moving these levers, and we get one of 465 bajillion possible characters. So most ants don't have wings, so most of them will have the wings off. So that'll cut down on a lot of the variations. But even so, more than we could possibly ever use or even create. There's no way. So there we go. We've got all of those different features working and different colors. So if you want a super strange ant, light colors, you can use some. Very dark colors, you can use some. So there we go. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe. Spread the word. This is all free to everybody. I will be posting this character available on our Patreon page probably before the end of April. So if you want to get a copy of this character, visit our Patreon page and become a donor, and you can gain access to our characters as we create them. So this will be the first one that I'll post on Patreon, and you will then be able to take it and use it. Everything we do at Dangerware is owned by the public, so you can take all of our characters, recreate them, use them however you want. And chances are, if you do what I've done here, you wouldn't use the exact same character we're using anywhere anyway. So thank you again for watching. Come again next time. I should possibly have something new up in a month or so. Thanks.
A stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you